welcome to another high-powered episode of the High Voltage Live Show. I'm your host, Willie Snyder with NEC Code, coming to you live from the My Live City, joined by my awesome co-host, Mr. King James Stallcup, over there in the Longhorn country of Dallas, Texas area.
No, Fort Worth.
Oh, Fort Worth area. Dude, don't make somebody come down from McKinney. No, I'm just kidding.
Ooh.
But thanks so much for joining us this week. Really appreciate it. Had so much participation this week with the Myth of the Week, and really appreciate it. King James has been just tearing it up with his learning management system, and everybody's been jumping in the death match, and we're having a good time with it. I did about half so far. I gotta like catch up. I gotta finish it up here. Before the questions end, but like I said, I'm gonna try to stay in the hunt. Oh, look who's already up in here! What's up, DJ85?
Well, hopefully he got something different than freaking hockey this week. Last week I didn't get one freaking correct. I know nothing about freaking hockey.
I switched it up this week, so it should be something new, and really appreciate it. We already got folks over there on Rumble. Thanks for joining Rumble side.
Can I show something
awesome.
real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
I want everybody to see this. Nothing big, but just so everybody knows that we are now on those different ones. Let's see. I think this one. Yeah. This one here, so everybody knows, I've now created an X account, Twitter, whatever the hell you want to call it. And you can come on here and see things. I'll be posting about all the different stuff. Or, I've just done the High Voltage Live podcast, and I actually created this video right here that everyone can see. Let me pause it for a minute. Well, I'll just go to the next one here. Whenever you come in and you're looking here at TikTok,
I'm glad Weedman likes it. That's cool. Thanks, Weedman. Appreciate it.
What is he talking about? I don't even know what he's talking about. But when you look here,
saying,
this is the TikTok site we have going now. And I've added a bunch of stuff here, and I've got the videos on here, that'll be playing. We've actually, just since I posted a few of these, we already got 9 followers on there, so it's going to be growing pretty quick. But we've set up.
That's on X?
That's TikTok, and then we also have X that we put on, and also have each one of those that I'm creating like that will also be a video short on YouTube. So all I'm taking right now, I've got another program that's a dashboard that's put out, and I've already set up for the whole month of March. And every day there will be something new going out, posting. Every Thursday will be posted out, will be the High Voltage Live podcast, and I may have something else that goes out. I'm not sure yet, but I've basically created social media content for everybody, and we will have everything there for whatever you need, whatever platform you're on. We got it covered now, and are the main ones in our social media. So we now have Facebook, we got Instagram, TikTok,
Rumble,
X, Rumble, YouTube,
LinkedIn,
one more. Yeah, so 7 of them that are set up, ready to go. Everything's integrated throughout the dashboard that I have. So everything's going to start just piling out. It takes me usually about a day or two to set up a whole month, and I'll just get the whole month, and then when we get ready for our podcast, I'll put it out that day before, and then I'll link the time I want to go out, and then it'll go out to everybody. So
I
we're even moving forward even more these days.
I really appreciate everyone. I constantly get people, man, this is so awesome what you guys are doing. Like, we busted so many myths, and like, we'll be out on the job site, and somebody will be like, "Oh yeah, you can't drill holes in that." And I'm like, "Really?" I was like, "Where does it say that?"
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of these different myths we've already covered, like with the bell boxes, like. So some of them, like I'm learning on the spot, as I'm doing them. Like I didn't even know some of the stuff, but yeah, you could drill out bell boxes as long as you silicone the holes after you're done. So just things like that. If you will read the manufacturer instructions, we'll kind of touch on that a little bit this week. And it's just real funny how much these manufacturer instructions kind of get involved in some of these myths. And, a lot of people had a lot of right answers. So it was pretty cool.
Well, I
It's
want to
pretty
give
awesome.
a little feedback on that kind of stuff. You know, Code Making Panel 1 made a decision on 110.3B. I think by the time it gets to Standards Council, like the last time when Code Making Panel 2 submitted their own TIA and rejected the task group's TIA, I think it's going to end up being something like that. We've already seen the definition of an outlet that was changed, which I said there's no way that definition would stand. There's no possible way. Well, I guess we have some people watching that are on the correlating committee, maybe watching what we're doing on here, but all of a sudden when it got to the correlating committee, guess what happened? They rejected what they did, and then they went ahead and put the original definition in. So
Right.
apparently everything's not as clear as what everybody wants to say. And I'll bring up another one I just read before I came on here. Jeremy, since you're on here, he made the comment, well, the definition of a branch circuit already takes care of an outlet, therefore that takes care of an individual branch circuit. Well, what I'll say to that, if that's true, I'll just give you the benefit of the doubt. Then why do I need the term outlet in the definitions for appliance branch circuit, general purpose branch circuit? But it's funny, we do have them in those two, but there's two spots we don't have it. And guess which definitions those are? Individual branch circuit and a motor branch circuit. So,
Right.
you can't.
And a multi-wire branch circuit.
Yeah, but I'm just talking about the main ones. If you look at those specific two right there, those are the ones I said where you're making a termination. And it makes sense when you look at that. So if an outlet's already covered by the definition of branch circuit, then let's just remove outlet from everything, and everything has an outlet, and you can just say what it's going to, and not that it's. Go read the definition. Hold on, I'll pull it up so everybody can see it. He wants proof in this. We will take care of this real quick. So I want everybody to see what I'm talking about. And
just to let everyone know, all the people that follow NAC Code, I really appreciate it. One of the reasons I submitted public input to add outlet to individual branch circuit was because it's already an outlet anyway. Why can't you just add it? Why can't it be in the definition? Because now that opens it up. There are branch circuits that connect outlets and branch circuits that don't connect outlets.
yeah, well,
That's the way I look at it.
This will be a good point, and this way everybody can see. I mean, you want proof. I'm just going to show it to you here real quick. So let me go to share my screen here, and then everybody can see it.
Thing.
Well, the thing is, this is where you go in and everybody can see the definition, and then you can go through there. Now, this is from NFPA link, and when you look at the definition there of a branch circuit, it goes in and it says it can protect one outlet or multiple outlets here. Okay. Then if you look at the definition of appliance branch circuit, when you're coming in and looking at this, it says where there's one or more outlets. Okay. I go to general purpose branch circuit. It says two or more receptacles or outlets. Then I go to individual, no outlet. I come down here, I pick up motor, no outlet here. Okay. Yeah. And then of course you say multi-wire none. But my whole point is if the definition of branch circuit is supposed to cover these other definitions, then why the need do we have to have here for an appliance branch circuit and a general purpose where it says outlets here? Why don't it just say a branch circuit that supplies lighting or two or more receptacles for lighting and appliances? Why does that have to say outlets? You already know it's an outlet. And then if I look at an appliance, a branch circuit that supplies energy to which appliances are to be connected. That's all it should say. It shouldn't say anything about outlets, since the definition of branch circuit apparently already covers outlets for each one of those anyway. And that's my whole point behind that is, you can't pick and choose and say, well, the definition of branch circuit applies to the other definitions, therefore there's always an outlet. Well, if that's the case, then we don't need to call it an outlet for the other two definitions. I mean, that to me, that's just common sense. It's like the Trump administration says, we're doing common sense. All this is common sense. Anybody that reads that, if that's going to be your interpretation, then why do I need it for those definitions? And I'd like to see somebody explain that to me. You can't pick and choose.
You could actually reduce the whole size of the code book just by eliminating some of the double speak that they do. Like if you go look at 210.8d, you said this a long time ago, that it says you could protect the branch circuit or the outlet. I thought if there's already an outlet, you don't even need to say branch circuit. And then I actually submitted a public input to delete that in 210.8d, and they rejected it.
Sure.
So,
that's my whole point.
Why'd they reject it?
If there's an outlet at the
branch
end,
circuit or the outlet.
That's right. Just say you protect the branch circuit. You don't even have to worry about it. But that's interesting, because when you looked at what they changed in the 2026 in the second draft, Code Making Panel 1, when they did an outlet, they said where the branch circuit conductors connect to utilization equipment. Well, that screwed everything up at that point. And I said, there's no way that'll stand. Because if you're going to say that, then if I go and connect to a receptacle, that's a device. That's not utilization equipment. Therefore, it couldn't stand. There's no way. And sure enough, correlating committee struck it, put an SCR on it, which was a second correlating revision, and sent the definition back to the original. So apparently there is a problem. And we've been pointing this problem out for 3 years now. And we have others that argue with us over it, and basically we're a disgrace to the electrical industry, whatever. But if we were, then they wouldn't even have to even think about changing it.
Yeah, or the fact that my public input 62554 passed, and they're all giving me a whole bunch of grief over it because they're like, if this passes, it's gonna ruin the EVSE industry. I'm like, really? I thought all my public inputs are supposed to fail. Mm-hmm. So then it passed. Why did it pass? Because you had to pass it, or else 210.8f is going bye-bye.
And let me tell you another thing. I want to point another thing out, the double standard. Okay? Now, when you get to 2026, and I want everybody to hear what I'm about to say, and this is actually a good podcast, because I wanted everybody to see the double standard. So I did this. I set up where I gave an informational note for an individual branch circuit, and I did a few others. And I said,
comments are all posted.
They are. And I went in and I said, here is examples of where the outlet could be located. Okay. They come back and said that violates blah, blah, blah. Okay. And Bill knows I told him this a long time ago. I said, I think what they're going to end up doing when they get to, like, as an example, the definition of appliance, I said, I think they're going to take out what's there, and they're going to put in the informational note and give you examples of types of appliances, and one of them listed in there is air conditioning. So in the 2026, they took it out of the definition and they moved it down into the informational note as an example. But yet, Code Making Panel 2 had the moral authority to tell me I violated so-and-so, but yet here we are with the definition of individual branch circuit, which they're over, and they put that in as an example. Now that is a double standard right there.
Well, and to give an example too, they passed my 62554, and bearded inspector said I had zero substantiation. And I was like, that's exactly my point of why I posted it, because I submitted it to fail, and then they were like, oh man, we can't fail this, because then if we fail this, it's gonna make all this other things garbage that we already passed, and so they had to pass it, and so I think it's gonna create a pretty big whirlwind. Like honestly, if they do pass it the way it's written, it's gonna be the most ignored code out of anything. And like somebody said that on one of the things. Big shout out to you, who said that on my NAC code page. We were like, that would be the most ignored code ever, and it's like it's true. You can't do it. Like you're not gonna sit there and be able to, increase the cost of an installation by like 100,000 with no technical merit. And,
I wanna take control.
I'm posting all your comments there, Weedman. So
I'm gonna give proof. Okay, so I'm gonna share a screen here one more time. I want everybody to see what I'm telling you is true. Now, if you look here and you look at the 2026, this is the second draft. I want you to see where they took out such as clothes washing, air conditioning, food mixing, and deep frying, and then they put them in here. Examples of appliances are clothes washers, air conditioners, food mixers, and deep fryers. So they came in and they gave here an example, which is exactly what I put in the informational note. And Jeremy and all of them told me, I see you don't even know how to write a proposal. Actually, I do know how to write a proposal. And apparently, once again, hey, Jeremy, you'll like this. Stalkup was proven right again. Okay. Now, sure. I want to show one more thing here. And so everybody can see this and see what we're telling you is true. It's not something that's hearsay or somebody like Jeremy then come over and always show proof, show proof. I wasn't planning on doing this tonight, but he wants proof, so I'm going to show him. Now,
I mean, I've been called out for my public inputs, but King James told me to submit those. Like we did our own independent thing. You know what I mean? Like
now, right here, if you look at the definition of an outlet, what does it say? A point on the wiring system at which current is taken to supply utilization equipment. Looky there. They put the definition exactly back to the way it was. And looky here. They had an SCR that's written right here. This is a failed ballot now. There's no way.
Daniel's got some shots fired in the chat over here.
But I want to show a definition of one other here. Look at this, an outlet box hood. Okay, it says it's a housing shield intended to fit over a faceplate for flush-mounted wiring devices or an integral wiring component of an outlet box. Now, I don't know how that can be much more clear. It's telling you they literally have an outlet box there. It's not saying anything else. It's not saying it's a point. It literally says that an outlet box hood is where you have an integral component of an outlet box.
True.
I mean, I can go through and show all kinds of things like this, but yet we're still getting raked over by the coals over there by the ECD boys. We don't know what we're talking about. But what I'm trying to point out to everybody is all you have to do is look what happened in the 2026 so far, and I still think they got some problems here. And I think when it gets to the Standards Council is going to end up having to do something. And I think what's going to happen, as another good example, if I looked here, and I want everybody to see this also.
How do you GFCI protect a point, Weedman? You don't.
Well, a point, I guess it can just float in an infinite space anywhere you want it to float. But I want to point something else out here. I want everybody to look at 210.8D. Now, you'll remember when we came into the 2023, Co-making panel 2 decided, oh, you know what? We're going to require it for electric ranges, wall-mounted ovens, cooking units, clothes dryers, micro, everything. They just said, we're going to require it for it all. Well,
they got that hand slapped by co-making panel 17.
You bet you they did. And so then you had Dimitrovich come on and said, well, we come to an agreement. No, you didn't come to an agreement.
No, it was a compromise.
Or compromise. You didn't come to a compromise. They told you they wasn't doing it. But if you go over here, it says these are specific appliances identified in 422.5. Okay? So if you go look at 422.5, you'll see some changes were made. But here's your appliances set up here now. And look at all them items they added in 2023 are no longer requiring GFCI protection.
Yeah.
Now, that's not me saying anything. This is what the co-making panel did.
And is there AC units in there?
No. And and that is my whole point. And the other point that I'll get to here is when you come in and you look at 210.8F, here they go now, and they've added a new exception 3 here, and then they extended the date to September 1st, 2026 on GFCI protection shall not be required for HVAC equipment. Okay, and all of this is set up right here as they keep moving the goalposts and everything. And then I want to point something else out here. They have the informational note there, and they talk about your special purpose GFCIs that are marked HF or HF plus. They don't even have that product yet. And this is where I got a problem. I've never seen where you're coming in and you're adding products and you hadn't even submitted any technical merit or substantiations in order to put it in the first place. I mean, this is getting out of hand.
I'll take that a step further. So they actually got a new exception in to where they say that you're allowed, and actually they actually wrote the exception wrong initially. They actually fixed it in the second draft. But it was really funny because here's somebody that's a member of a breaker manufacturer who's writing something where they're saying, oh, if it's not compatible, we'll allow you to buy an even more expensive product, and that'll be okay. That'll be comply with code. To me, that's totally wrong, because the thing is that they want to do this in the name of safety, but at the same time, they don't have any technical merit to back up this requirement in the first place. This kid that died, it's tragic that a kid died in 2007, jumping a 6-foot chain link fence and getting killed on an AC unit. Yeah, that's horrible. But they say, oh, well, GFCI could have saved his life. A ground wire could have saved his life.
Okay.
Maybe they should have put a ground wire in there.
I want to address this. He says the definition outlet says it's a point. Yeah, it is a point. And it's a point that is determined. It's something that's physical. It just doesn't float in a free space somewhere. If I'm going to give you an example. If it's a point, then I don't need to identify the point. Okay? And I'm going to give you an example. And I'm going to go and I'm going to pull this up, and I want everybody to see exactly what I'm talking about. Okay? Let me go over here. I'm going to share the screen real quick, and I'm going to show everybody what I'm talking about. And all this is why I argue this. You can have your opinion, but I'm going to explain why I actually argue this. Okay?
Just to let you know, okay, so that point could change. So, if it's a factory whip, then it moves. So you can move that point wherever you want.
Well, yeah, and I've already said you can't do that, and I'm gonna show you 2 exact reasons why I believe this, and anybody can argue if you want to. It's okay with me. Now, right here we have the definition of a receptacle. Okay, what does it say? It's a contact device installed where? At the outlet. Okay, so therefore, nobody's going to disagree that a receptacle is a device. All right. Then if I
Right.
look right here at receptacle, what does it say? An outlet where the branch circuit conductors are connected to one or more receptacles. Okay. Now, if I go and I look at just what I looked at for an outlet box, it literally called the box the what?
Outlet.
Outlet. Okay. Now, let's go just a little further and see if what I'm saying is correct here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at 314.27. And Jeremy, pay attention to this, because what I'm trying to tell you is, and the way I look at the code is I apply the code as a whole. I don't pick and choose where I think it needs to go. Now, let's look right here. Right here, it says where I'm dealing with my boxes at luminaire and lamp holder outlets. Okay. Now, if I look at this and I'm breaking this down right through here, they're telling me here that the outlet boxes, now once again, there's that word, outlet boxes. Okay. It says, are fittings designed for the support of luminaires and lamp holders are installed with 314.23 shall be permitted to support a luminaire or lamp holder. Okay. Now, that's just my boxes where the luminaire is actually going to connect to the box. Now, let's look at this, ceiling outlets. And it talks about luminaires at 50 pounds or less. At every outlet, used exclusively for lighting, the box shall be designed or installed so that the luminaire lamp area can be attached. Boxes shall be required to support a luminaire weighing 50 pounds. Then if you're more than 50 pounds, it says they shall be supported independently of the box. Okay? Now, so far, nobody disagrees with any of that. Now, let's go down.
Well, actually, I got to address Daniel, because, he says you shouldn't drink in post. So, Daniel.
I agree with that.
That's good. That's good.
Now, let's look a little further. Now, those all were, you had the lighting fixtures connecting to the box. Everybody agrees with that. Nobody should disagree with that. Now, let's see what it says here. Boxes used for the support of utilization equipment other than ceiling suspended paddle fans shall meet the requirements of 314.27A for the support of luminaire that is the same size and weight. Now, right there, it takes me right back up to where? 314.27A that we just looked at. Okay? And then if I drop down and I get into my weight supporting ceiling receptacles, it once again calls it what? Outlet boxes. I mean, there is no arguing this point. And when I look at this, and then I want to show one other thing. When I get right up here to the very first of Article 314, what does it say? Outlet. The very first word.
And then when I ask Weedman what you call that factory wiring that connects from the equipment to the outlet, he just says that's equipment wiring. So he wants to know what that's called, but he's the one that said that it's called jumper. It's part of the equipment.
Well, so, and let me give you another example of one. You had Code Making Panel 5. They actually tried to come in and take out the word jumper. Well, the coordinating committee said, no, you're not doing that either. And so now they call it a jumper or a conductor. But the preferred term is you use a jumper. Now, this is interesting.
I don't even think Weedman knew about that there was jumper in the code. Yeah, there's jumper in the code there, Weedman. So, yeah. You learn something new every show. So I'm glad you're learning in here.
Now, this is a good one. If I look at 314.16, I look at the last sentence. It says, boxes and conduit bodies enclosed in number 4 or larger shall also comply with 314.28. Outlet and device boxes shall also comply with 314.24. Now, see there, that they're clarifying that you could have a device there as a device box, which would be just a switch that's going feeding an outlet box, or you could take and have an outlet box there that's feeding the equipment. I mean, This isn't something I'm making up here. I'm just showing you exactly, if you follow the code along here, this is how you do it. And the other thing I'll tell you here, when you get into these box fill calculations, what does it say up here? It says that these are all done according to what? 314.16A and B1 through B5. Okay? And when you're getting into these, the thing that I will point out more than anything here is that you're taking and you're either sizing an outlet box or you're sizing a square box, a device box, a round or octagonal box, or it could be other type boxes, which where you're going in and you've got larger size conductors. And that's what all of this is about right here. And that's where you get in and you start looking at conductors that are number 6 or smaller. You size outlet boxes, junction boxes, device boxes, whatever. But if I get over number 6, then you'll notice they don't call that a junction box or anything. Basically, they just call them pulls right at that point. They say they're boxes, and they tell you to go look at where? 314.28, which would be a junction box. Okay? Right. And that's easy to follow. And as long as I've been doing it, that's how I've been taught to do this.
With no further ado, we should go run the meme, because this was pretty much breaking news. We should have ran it earlier, but we had a new executive order that came down for all you Sparkies out there. So
I laughed when I saw this one. This is funny.
All right. I'm telling you, Daniel, you're off the hook, man. You don't have to clean up anymore, man. No more brooms for Sparkies.
Thank you, President Trump.
So new executive order just dropped, and so it's pretty awesome. And like I say, appreciate the gentleman I stole that from. I don't know if you put it in there. Like, I sometimes give you the name on it, but
you did on the
Wall of Shame.
Wall of Shame, but not on that.
But I did steal that from the Wall of Shame group, so pretty awesome. That whole entire group's just been growing awesome. And, like I say, I don't think Weedman would even be here if nobody was listening. So, thanks so much. We got 3 over on Rumble side. We got 3 over here on YouTube side.
Can I thank Jeremy? Thank you, Jeremy. Yeah. Because
I know.
Based on what y'all done, you've actually increased our book sales. And I want to thank you again by proving to everybody, because you won't ever post anything to compare to what we have. And everybody's reading that and they're saying, damn, it must be good if he's willing to let them put their very best out and they still won't post. All you did was do the Stall Cups a favor. And we appreciate it from the bottom of our heart. And I encourage you to keep saying it, because it just keeps going up, and we appreciate it.
Yeah. And I agree. And like I say, I am so honored that when I reached out to you and said, hey, we should do a podcast, it's going to be really fun, and we could do like a myth of the week. And you're like, what? Myth of the week? And then I told you my whole idea, and I was like, we should do this, and we should do this, and this. And you're like, that's awesome. And everyone's like, oh, you're just latching on to any educator you can come on to. But honestly, I just went to the best of the business, and I appreciate you for putting together the myth of the week. Let's roll it.
All right.
It's time for Myth of the Week.
I really want to thank everyone for all the participation I have every week. It's so much fun. I hit like 50,000 really quick this week, and of course, it's the controversial anti-short bushing, which a lot of people say that the inspector can fail you for not using anti-short bushings. There's you can see that little red part that like pokes out. That's supposed to like poke out of the connector to where you could see it, and so they know you used it. And like I say, that's like so like pre 2002. But they actually had a different. They had a NEMA a NECA like bulletin that came out and said that if you use a self-centering connector, there is no way that these conductors can be pierced by the shield of the armor jacket, you know. And so they basically said there's no reason to use these anti-short bushings. There's a bunch of different bulletins that's come out since 2002 that the manufacturer actually lists their cable without the use of an anti-short bushing. So that's pretty awesome. Like all these people are saying, "Oh, you're trash and you don't use pants and all this stuff." But like I say, I'm gonna keep kind of pursuing this a little bit to try to make sure get the word out and everything. But 100%, this is one of the bigger myths out there. As you can see, it's myth number 4 in my myth list. It's been going back a long ways, and when I first heard it, I was like, "No way can you get a listing on that cable without that anti-short bushing?" And that's just 100% myth. You know, some people think, you know, hey, it's good. I did this one post. It's really funny, James. I don't know if you remember it, but I had like a MC90 connector, and I was like asking people, hey, should I use an anti-short bushing? And all these people, oh man, MC90. Oh yeah, definitely have to use anti-short bushing. It's only for straight connectors, you know. And then I posted it, I think on like Monday or something, and I was like, guess if I used the anti-short bushing or not. And there was a bunch of people, and they're like, oh man, Bill's a hack. He didn't use the anti-short bushing. Then all these other people, oh no, I'm pretty sure Bill used one because it's a 90-degree connector. You gotta do it. And then when it was all said and done on Friday, I posted it, and I used 2, you know, and so it was code times 3, you know. But it was just a joke, but it was really funny, and like everyone got so mad and like pretty much forgot about the post because like they were like, "Oh man, you know, I knew I didn't expect him to use 2, but it was just a joke because I had 2 that day." But you know, it was just really funny, and like I say, I always try to do these as like a joke because honestly, if you strip the cable correctly with the approved methods, they give you a bunch of approved methods to strip the cable, and you terminate it correctly and you're very careful how you terminate it, there's no way that you're gonna have any kind of issue. I did a whole entire hotel, top to bottom, 300 rooms, barely ever used any anti-short bushings. Like we were never had enough for the whole building. I mean, there might be a couple in there, but we never had an issue with it. So
Sure.
I think this is kind of one of the things where when you get into like the code and the manufacturer instructions, we're gonna see some issues coming up with that change that you're talking about for code making panel 1 in 2026.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to do a little expansion on this, if you don't
Okay.
mind.
Well, I knew you would like it. I tried to get a hold of you, but I knew you're busy, and I know you got a lot of stuff going on. But I wanted you to kind of give your take on how I should maybe, you know, push this a little different direction. But
Well,
I know you got it. I know you got it.
first, I just want to look at something here, and I'm just going to show you. Then I'm going to show you what took place in the 2026, and then I'm going to show you something else with OSHA. Okay.
Okay.
Now, when you get into the installation use, it says equipment that is listed, labeled, both are identified for use shall be installed and used in accordance with any instructions included in the listing, labeling, or identification. So it's telling you to do what it says with any information that's there. Then if you look at the listing down below, it says product testing, evaluation, and listing, which is your product certification, shall be performed by recognized qualified testing laboratories. Now, I want to point that out. That's the same thing as a NERDL, a national recognized testing laboratory. And it says, shall be in accordance with applicable product standards recognized as achieving equivalent and effective safety for equipment installed to comply with this code. Okay? So before I go
Right.
any further, I'm reading to you right here. It's saying that if they have a listing and labeling on that piece of equipment, that it isn't that when they get that listing on it, it is done in such a manner that it achieves equivalent and effective safety for equipment installed to comply with what? The National Electrical Code.
Right.
Does anybody disagree with that? It literally tells you have to do that. Now,
Yeah.
what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to go over and I'm going to share the screen and I'm going to show everybody what has happened. Okay, this
There would be no reason to have a nurdle if that was false.
sure. Now I'll try to increase this a little bit where everybody can see it. Okay. Now I'm going to get in. I'm going to look at the installation use. Now they left the exact same sentence in there for B. They didn't even change C at all. Then they put
Right.
another sentence in here. It says, such instructions shall result in an installation and use that complies with the requirements within this code. Okay? Now,
That's exactly what is it's
it's already
basically like
saying that, but
it's circle talking.
it sure is. And I'm going to show you here. Uh, it tells you here in the committee statement, this revision clarifies that the requirements in the code supersede the product installation and use instructions.
That's ridiculous.
Now, I'm telling you, if this stands like this is going to cause a problem, and I'll tell you why. Because this basically means that the NEC is taking jurisdiction over what the manufacturer's instructions state, if it has a listing and labeling on it.
So, I have a good example of this being a problem. So, if you remember me doing this, electrician he was installing Leviathan switches at his house, and he was installing them hot. Well, that's a code violation because the manufacturer instructions say disconnect power prior to servicing or prior to installing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're installing that on a live circuit, then you're actually doing a code violation. This would actually say that I could go blow up switches and install them on live circuits, and I can go back to Leviathan and say, hey man, you know, I didn't follow your instructions, but the code doesn't say I can't install it on live circuit.
Mm-hmm.
And and they'd have to give me my money back, or they'd have to replace my thing when I was violating their instructions for not disconnecting power while I was installing it.
Sure. And watch this. So I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna look at qualifications. Okay. Now, that what I'm showing here, this isn't my opinion. I'm just showing everybody what it states. All right.
True.
So I come in here and I look at OSHA, and you look at 1910.7C, and you look at their test standards. And they tell you in C1, they say recognized in the United States as a safety standard providing an adequate level of safety. And then it says in C2, compatible with and maintain current with periodic revisions of applicable national codes and installation standards. So they're telling us right here, in order to have equipment that's listed and labeled, it has to be maintained current with whatever the current, in this case, National Electrical Code or any installation standards. Okay? Then,
Oh, I thought that only applied to workplaces.
well, like I said, and let me point one other thing. If it's something that's just a recommendation, you don't have to do it. Okay, you can. It's just recommended. But if they're telling you to do something, you better do it. So then it says in C3, it's developed by a standards developing organization under a method providing for input and consideration of use. And look what it says, of industry groups, experts, users, consumers, governmental authorities, and others having broad experience in the safety field involved. Now, you're going to tell me that somebody that's on co-making panel 1 determines, oh, we override it, period. And we don't care that they have to keep current and maintain with applicable national codes. And we don't care that they have people that are specifically helping develop that test standard that are actually in that field, that we're smarter than you and we're going to require this in the code and we're superseding it.
Yeah.
That's a problem right there. That is a problem.
The thing is that they have like tunnel vision, if you ask me. And they're only looking at a small section of the code that it applies to and not looking at the broader safety that's at stake. Because, you know, there's a lot of liability things that have to go to the manufacturer, because that's the whole point of doing the testing and labeling procedure, is to like make sure that they're like, I know that there's actually inspectors that actually inspect that testing and labeling, you know, and make sure that's compliant and it complies with all these different standards. For them to just come out and say, nah, oh, even though, like, you're basically calling those listing and labeling inspectors idiots that you know more than they do.
Well, let me take it a step further. You heard Jeremy and them all say, oh, OSHA doesn't apply to residential. The hell it doesn't. It applies to all electrical industry. And
I heard that.
And I want, if you're still on, Jeremy, or you come back and watch, I want you to watch what I read here. And this is in the National Electrical Code. This isn't me making all this up. So if I look at 110.3C and look at the informational note, oh, you can't be serious. It says the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA. They're even recognizing them. It says recognize qualified testing laboratories that perform evaluations, testing, and certification of certain products to ensure that they meet the requirements of both the construction and general industry. Doesn't matter which one. OSHA electrical standards. Now, let's look at that.
Dude, you Photoshop that in there. Daniel, did you Photoshop that for King James?
Now, let me explain something here. When I look at this and they talk about both the construction and general industry OSHA electrical standards, what they're talking about is you're going to look at OSHA 1926 subpart K. That's your construction. And then when you get to general industry, you're looking at OSHA 1910 subpart S. Okay? Right. And I know all this because I've been teaching it for years.
But you've been saying the whole time, and they say that only applies to workplace.
Yeah, but I'm going to take it a little further. Let's see what it says. If the listing product certification is done under a qualified testing laboratory, OSHA recognizes it, NERDL, National Recognized Testing Laboratory, program, the listing mark signifies that the tested and certified product complies with the requirements of one or more appropriate product safety test standards. Now,
and that, what does that go back into? That goes back into 90.4 with your AHJ. That's how the AHJs make their determination on how they inspect and approve. It's based on that.
I can tell you, my dad, and I know all this for fact, Dad was teaching this a long time ago when, when we first come out.
Dude, it wasn't 50 years ago. I know it wasn't.
No, it wasn't 50 years. It's getting close. But
I know.
When my dad wrote these publications, he started in 1978, and it was American Tech that published them. It's a long story. We got the rights back. But there was a publication that they wouldn't publish. And they told Dad, this is how Gray Boy really started doing their own publications. Dad wanted to do an OSHA book, and they said, "We're not doing that. That book won't sell. It's a waste of time." They said, and the guy that was over there was Tommy Proctor at the time. He told Dad, he said, he goes, "Won't you just do it yourself with your family publishing?" And Dad pissed Dad off, of course. He said, "Okay." Well, we did it, and guess what ended up happening? That sucker started selling like crazy. And the reason it did, because these type of requirements were in there and people didn't know how to apply them. I remember sitting in his classes, him talking about this exactly the way I'm telling you today. And
Right.
OSHA actually used our publication to teach their own inspectors. That is a fact. Matter of fact, Joe Pipkin, who was over OSHA at the time, he actually was the one that asked Dad to write the publication. And
Right.
and then if you go back, and I can prove all of this. If you go look at our OSHA,
Oh, dude, guess what? Weed Man ghosted because you have proof.
well, and I can prove this. Back then, after we wrote that, he asked if we would also write a high voltage book
What?
for the utilities. We went in,
High
wrote the high
voltage lab?
voltage book, and if anybody goes in there and looks at it, you're going to see there's after each thing that we do, there's an OSHA point of view. They literally sent us their own in-house documentation of how they viewed that section and asked us if we would put it in the publication. That
Wow.
is, and we're the only company that has that, and it was given to us by OSHA. We ain't got the contract. Everything shows that they gave us that permission to use their own internal stuff, and they use that book for their inspectors that will go out and look at high voltage, and then they were recommending it to the people that deal with your utility companies and stuff as the book that they look at. That
Now
is
you see.
100% fact.
Now you see where I came up with the name High Voltage Lab.
Hmm.
Um,
But
but
this, just looking at this from right now, if you follow along what it says here, I think what they have in the 2026, I think when it gets to Standards Council, I think that whole sentence is coming out.
yeah,
But we'll
I
see.
I think it I think it has to. But the reason, basically, I'll give kind of the backstory to everyone who doesn't really know the argument. But basically, the backstory is that, like, so EBSE, like, we go in right now, you got 210.8F. It says all outdoor outlets require GFCI protection. And then they say, well, as long as they're compatible and all this different stuff. But me and King James, we, shot them down like right away. We're like, nah, you guys are stupid. And so they got mad because this was based on a kid that got killed on a electrified AC unit. And they've gone to so much lengths to saying that he had bare feet on. There's no way a kid's jumping a 6 foot chain link fence with bare feet. Just all the different kind of ways that they spun this to make them right. It was ridiculous. It was actually embarrassing. But then EBSE kind of has this, what they call, like, a loophole. So basically, EBSE, it says all receptacles must be GFCI protected. Well, if you go into EBSE, it says don't put on a Class A device if it's hardwired in the manufacturer instructions. And they say, no, 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 no. If the code says it needs to be a Class A device, it has to be a Class A device. And that's
Hmm.
kind of where this whole tunnel vision that I was kind of telling you about kind of goes with that whole thing. And honestly, I'm actually excited for the battle to see what happens.
Hmm.
Because either way, it's a win-win for what we've been saying the whole time. Either it's gonna be in 2026, the code is 100% ignored in every area that sucks and applied the same way it's been applied through all the different cycles. Like, honestly, right now in Colorado, we're still on 2017 when it comes to 210.8F. Like, we basically didn't even adopt it. And even if we did adopt it in 2020, we quickly unadopted it, you know. And it's just ridiculous. Like to me, honestly, I don't know why you want a whole entire sections of the code to just not apply. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's been my whole thing for a long time, is take the code as a whole, and that's why we do like these little things, and and that's one reason when you go and look at our publications, you won't see it in any others. We have NEC loops in there where you may have to go 5, 6, 7, 8 sections to get the right answer. You know, we go through that. You got to use the code as a whole.
Yeah, I agree. And this week, myth is busted. You are not required by code to install anti-short bushings. One of the big things that always stuck with me on this one is if you're installing that MC, you're using the correct tool to strip it, you're doing it the correct method, and you're using the right connectors, then there's absolutely no way that armor jacket can't contact those conductors and cause a house fire, a short, a building fire, any kind of the things that they give you, like in the horror stories. And just to tell you, James, back in the day, I'll never forget this. Like when I was probably like a second year apprentice. Back when I started NAC Code as a company.
Mm-hmm.
It was like '96 or something. About like 35 years ago, whatever. But anyway, I'm just joking. But it was like the inspectors would like take and they'd go look through the trash can at like our MC where we were cutting it.
Sure they
seeing
would.
how we're cutting it. And they'd be like, you ain't cutting this right, they'd try to bust your balls about some stuff. And they were basically telling us, you know what, we're going to make you rip all this MC back out because we don't think you did it right, And it was just stupid. And coming now to look at the actual code, what the code says and everything, you guys can absolutely 100% use that to your benefit, And that's the whole reason I do these myth of the weeks, because you go to the inspector and you say, you know what, I want to see the code. You could sit there and use 110.3b, you could use 110.3c, you could use 334, you could use 333.30, you could use 333.4, whatever. You could use all these different references, but if you do not have that specific reference that says that, then it's not going to fail your inspection. All these guys say that AHJ can exceed code. They can go above code. It's like, no, they can't. That's actually against law. That would be like the police officer saying, you know what? I know there's a 45 zone, but I like to see it at 35, so I'm giving you a ticket at 35 and a 45.
Mm-hmm.
How fast do you think that judge is going to,
That's right.
There's
a lot of things that are about to happen. I do believe in that. And I want to give a shout out that Rumble site. It's got 11 viewers on there now.
I know. I saw that.
I was like, damn.
We're getting blown up.
Yeah, subscribe, give us a like and share over there, guys. We appreciate it. I think a lot of them are coming over there because I got it all integrated in with X and all this other stuff now. So nice. I think our viewership's going to start really growing. And for y'all, if you got the opportunity, go to the YouTube channel and give us a subscribe too. We appreciate it there. So
yeah, and like I say, I think we're like over 350 now. Or are we close to 350?
Shoot.
We're over.
It's been so long since I've looked at any of that. I don't really keep up with all the engagement unless somebody has a comment and is asking a question or something. Usually I just, I don't really look at it. Let's see how many we got there. Let me go back here.
And just letting you guys know, Willie's Wild Team is on fire on Fantasy NHL right now. So watch out, boys. Watch out, boys. I'm coming.
348.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, it's even going up. As I say, I don't ever check it. I'm glad you asked because I don't ever look.
Yeah, all the guys that I bump into, like, so everyone knows when they watch this video, they're gonna be like, "Oh yeah, Bill asked me this." I go, "All right, so here's 210.8F," and I explain it to him, and then I say that means hardwired equipment has an outlet, and then you have to GSCI protect it, and they're like, "No, it doesn't." Like, there hasn't been one single person since day one of me asking all these journeymen, all these different professionals out in the field, like, hey, this is exactly what they're trying to say, and not a single person has said, oh, yeah, I agree with them. Not one single person. Like, that's a lot of people. Like, everyone knows Daniel works with a bunch of the guys that I've asked this question to. And Daniel needs to go ask him again. Like, be like, hey, man, this is what happened, you know? And the thing is, it's funny. It just makes me crack up, you know? And,
Adam's
here is David Engelhardt, Mr. E, up in the house. But, yeah, awesome. Yeah. So.
I guess he's talking about Jeremy.
Yeah. He calls you.
Yeah, I don't blame you, brother. We just have to deal with him because he comes on there and starts posting a whole bunch of nonsense. But anyway, Adam's on. Let's bring Adam up. Get ready to do Willie Quiz.
Oh, dude, Willie
Hello.
Quiz. Oh, dude, awesome.
He's here.
Adam.
Do you miss me?
I do. I miss you a lot.
This is so awesome. I prayed to Jesus that he would send me a prophet, and here's Adam.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
No. Pressure. No.
I'm just kidding.
I think the prophets is all completed since the Bible is over. So
I'm just kidding. Like when you talk about Adam and Eve, like they don't mention any good things about Adam. You know what I mean? So it's all good. You gave your rib. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
It's all good. It's all good.
Adam's apple.
Whoopsie, sorry guys. I didn't mean to doom humanity. Don't get mad at me. It's her fault. She told me.
No, thanks so much for joining us, Team SOS. If you guys really like cool stuff on YouTube, go check out Team SOS. And Vibing with SOS is like the best podcast on social media, so go check him out. And he's got a really cool intro for me, and maybe we could roll it there, King James. Huh?
I got you covered. That always cracks me up. I don't know why.
All right, got it.
All
right, so this one is geography. King James should have nail this one. All right, so question number 1. Which of the following is true about the sovereign nation of Seal Land? A, it is an artificial island in the Pacific Ocean. B, it was established on a World War II era seaport. C, it has an official population of over 1,000 people. D, is recognized as the United Nations as an independent country. Or E, it is made up of 100% seals. Good luck, everyone.
I actually know something about this.
I mean, I already told you it was going to be easy. So you should just trust me.
I'll wait for everybody to guess, and then I'll tell you what I know about it.
Daniel always has really good guesses, so Daniel's going B.
Yeah, I'll probably just trust on Daniel on this one. I go with B as well. I'm not too sure.
Oh, everyone just copies Daniel from now
Well,
on. But
it will be
let's
B,
listen to King James.
but I'll tell you this much: it's not recognized as an independent country. Okay, that I can tell you. I know that much about it. It's not made up 100% seals either, but actually,
What? You're
great.
saying my E answer is crap, dude?
I think it's
I take
great.
offense from that.
The only people even recognize it at all is Germany and Great Britain. I think somebody like that. I can't remember, but it's like one of those two. But not as an independent country. And actually, how it was some guy that started. It was in the World War II area. It was actually a seafort, and he actually went in and claimed the area and claimed himself like the Duke or something like that of Sealand. And to this day, I don't even know if they even have more than 20 people as residents or something like that. I mean, it's not even like 20 people. That's the
It's
population.
definitely not 1,000. It's definitely
Yeah.
not 1,000. So you
Somebody
can
could
rule
look
out
it up.
C. You
But
can rule out C for Sealand.
Yeah, it's like 15, 20 or something like that. I watched this on Discovery one time and they were talking about this. And that's how I knew that. But it was a C fort, and B is the correct answer.
All right. Well, looks like we have a trifecta, and everyone gets a correct answer with
Yay.
B is the correct answer. So I'm glad you didn't go with my sweet E.
Hey, Adam.
Second answer.
Adam, last week he did hockey. You want to take a guess how many I got right?
0, almost.
Zero. I didn't get one. They were junior world hockey games. I was like, I don't know anything about that.
Honestly, I probably would have got them wrong too, so it's all good.
All right, question number 2. The town of Barl is one of the most geographically complex places in the world due to border irregularities, which two countries share this bizarre border. What border is it? Is it A, Germany and Poland? Is it B, Netherlands and Belgium? Is it C, France and Switzerland? Is it D, Austria and Italy? Or is it E, Norway and Russia? Good luck, everyone.
I've actually been to Barley. This is freaking
That's
awesome.
not barley, dude.
Barley.
All right. Well, Daniel's going B.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure it's B, Netherlands and Belgium.
I can't believe y'all know this. I've actually been there. I don't even know how the hell y'all know this stuff.
All right, let's listen to the King James story about
we actually took a trip. We had been on this trip and went to Iceland, and we decided to go back up, and we went and we took train rides through all of the area over there in Belgium and Netherlands and all of that, and actually we went for a ride, and we went into bar or however you say it, and we were actually ate at a restaurant there. It was actually on the street that we ate at the restaurant. Their restaurants there are a lot different than the restaurants we have here, and we went in there. We were just talking to them, and anyway, they were giving us history lessons and everything. I was actually dating this girl Jana at the time that I went with, and we were there, and it was bordered by the Netherlands and Belgium. So yeah, I've actually been there, so that's the only reason I know this answer.
Dude, I cannot imagine the locals just sitting there like, did he just call our town Barley?
Well, I might call it something else. I might call it Barlell.
We are going to give everyone a correct answer with another B answer. So, boom, we have 2 for 2. Everyone All right. What is unique about the location of Point Nemo in the Pacific Ocean? A is the most remote place on land, furthest from any human settlement. B is closer to the International Space Station than any other maintained civilization. C, it is the only point where three tectonic plates meet at sea level. D, it is a phantom island that appears on old maps but does not exist physically. E, it is the only island with multiple species of plankton in the world. Good luck, everyone.
I can give everybody a hint.
I can already tell you, King James is like, well, we flew in there on midnight on D-Day.
No, I've never been to it, but if you ever watch the Jules Verne classic, Captain Nemo, there's a reason he called him Captain Nemo. A lot of people don't know this, and well, the reason is because the theory Captain Nemo could go anywhere, okay, that other people couldn't, and that's because he had the submarine and all that stuff. That's why they called it Nemo, and it was because of this place in the Pacific Ocean. It was the furthest place away that was landmass that was furthest from any human settlement, and that's what I remember about it. So I'll go with A.
All right, looks like King James is copying Daniel. That could be dangerous there, Adam. I don't know. I mean, what do you think, Adam?
If I had to be risky and try something else, maybe B, it's closer to the International Space Station.
And Adam is correct.
What?
He took a risk for a reason. It
Oh my
is
goodness.
closer to the International Space Station than any other maintained civilization. So
Oh my
until the International Space Station, it was the furthest away from all human settlement. So I got King James on his dinosaur.
Well, see, that's what I remember is from the book because, I like reading books and stuff. So I remember, and I was reading about, Jules Verne writing that. And that's the reason he called him Captain Nemo was for that reason. That's why I knew that.
Yep. Well, now the International Space Station is closer than the closest manned civilization. So,
wow. Okay.
Yeah. So got him, Adam. Adams takes the lead, and actually, Adam is in a good position because a tie will actually beat King James at any point. So, very good. All right. Question number 4. There is a U.S. state with a town where, due to time zone quirks, the local time differs from the rest of the state. What state is that? Is it A, Alaska? Is it Indiana? Is it C, Arizona? Is it D, Nevada? Or is it E, Idaho? Good luck, everyone.
Oh, well, I actually do know this one, or I think I do. And I will give a reason after everybody asks. Actually, I actually see two answers.
Is that A, Alaska?
I was going to say I was gonna actually go
Or
with
no,
E.
we're on question 4. Oh yeah. So he's going C, Arizona.
I'm gonna go with E.
E,
Now
Idaho.
that
Dude, that's a good answer, Adam.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really good answer.
and I bet I'll guess why he went with Idaho, because you got Coeur d'Alene up there, and Coeur d'Alene actually is closer to Washington. That's where you get a time quirk there. Because I've actually, when I was up in Seattle, I actually went over to Coeur d'Alene that was on the same time zone. But Arizona, this is a very interesting one because it has to deal with the Indian tribes. And I know this because I've been there. And it all really where it starts, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's the Navajo uh, that have you could actually go through four different Indian nations there, and your time zone would change four times. But by the time you got the fourth one, you would end up the same time you started from the original one. I mean, it's really
So,
weird. So I'll go with C, Arizona. I think Arizona's correct, but
so
Idaho does also have a quirk there too.
I wanna back up Adam on the Idaho one. We actually went rafting on the Snake River in Idaho, and one side of the river was on this time zone, the other side of the river was on the other time zone.
That's true.
So it was crazy. Like, I've never dealt with that before. But the correct answer is C. And so far, Adam has a tie with King James, and Daniel has C as a correct answer. You are correct. And it is due to Arizona not adopting the daylight savings of the rest of the U.S. So,
But don't they have like the Navajo, the Pueblo, the Inca, and there's one
yep.
other? I think that they have quirks in there also
Yeah.
with their time zones, right in the big Indian Nation portion there.
Yep,
Okay,
100%. Like,
I
it's
thought
the
that was
most
correct.
yeah, it's the most controversial time zone thing in the U.S. And basically, you know, whatever time that you look underneath the donkey and it points to the clock, that's what time it is. You know, so
Okay.
whatever. But yeah, that's pretty funny. Anyway, question number 5: which country has an enclave entirely surrounding a single other country, making it one of the few true national enclaves in the world? Is it Lescado? Is it B, Monaco? Is it C, Vatican City? Is it D, San Marino? Or is it E, Baghdad? Good luck, everyone.
Well, this is an interesting one.
I need to go to like Hooked on Ebonics or something, so I could like learn how to say all these names. Like, I always take a page out of Adam. Like, you could just
Just
mispronounce the hell out of it, and Adam's good with it.
yeah, you just as long as you try, then that's all that matters. And yeah, I just
Yeah,
normally if there's a word, I just it's like I say it with confidence, even though I know I'm probably horribly off from pronouncing it right.
dude. Funny thing that you would love about this. My
Mm.
daughter, she goes to school, and she says, "Yeah." She goes, "I met this new girl today," and I says, "Oh yeah, yeah. What's her name?" She goes, "Her name's Pamelia."
Mm.
And I was like, "Really, Pamelia?" I was like, "That's really weird, you know." And then she showed me her name. I was like, "Oh, that's Pamela."
Mm.
So I thought about you, Adam. I was like, "Oh man," Adam would have said, "Hey man, good luck to Pamelia."
I probably would have somehow butcher even more if I saw it.
I don't feel bad about mispronouncing things.
Yeah, no,
Thanks, Adam. You
no,
gave me
no,
so
yeah.
much confidence.
If to anyone out there, if you feel insecure about mispronunciation, just look at me. You just gotta be, just go in with confidence, and even though you know you're mispronouncing it, just as long as you look confident, people will, buy it or whatever.
Love it, brother. Thanks so much for joining us too. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no
Well,
worries.
And DJ goes with A.
this is interesting because
Lesothia.
the
Lesothia.
the Vatican is surrounded completely. I know that for 100% fact, and it's its own uh, national entity. I think it's even considered a country, and in Italy, so is San Marino. And if I'm not,
Right?
I'm you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong here, but we went over we. I was trying to think. We
I was
went
like,
over.
dude, don't tell me you went to Baghdad, dude. Like, I'll be
No,
like, oh man.
I hadn't been to Baghdad,
Uh,
or I hadn't been to
I'll be like,
Monaco
oh
either.
dang it.
But if I'm not mistaken, Lesotho, that's in Africa. If I'm not mistaken, we that I think if I'm not mistaken, Lesotho is the one that has a lot of rare minerals there. It's all surrounded by there, and that's one of the reasons we went over there because there's certain parts of Africa that we're looking at in putting their new electrical in, and they wasn't going to do it under European. They were going to do it under the National Electrical Code. That's why we were there to write reports. And if I'm not mistaken, we went. It was called Lesotho, if I'm not mistaken. This has been about 15 years ago. I'm trying to really remember if that's the name, but I actually there's three that I'm looking at there, and I've never been to San Marino, but I know it's in Italy, and it's surrounded by Italy too.
True.
So I think there's actually three answers there. So I guess it comes.
Yeah, I mean the number one answer is pretty striking because like I do like Adam and I always like test the questions and I test it with like AI, you know.
Well, if I was going to have to
And
go with one that really is like its own really single other country, um, is Lesotho because I mean they got mineral enrichments there. They call it lignite. That's what it is, lignite. They got a lot of lignite there, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, I'll go with
all right.
Lesotho. I'll go with
All
A,
right.
Lesotho.
All right, Adam has actually been doing great at this quiz tonight and it looks like Adam would have to go against Daniel J. Daniel J is going the signal,
Well, you know what?
and
I was I was gonna
King
say
James is going the signal.
if the main thing is to not let King James win, then I'll go with A, because in case if the answer is not A,
It's
then
still a tie.
it's a tie. So
And I lose on ties anyway.
so my final answer will be A. I could be right, I could be wrong, but at the end of the day, King James is not gonna win.
So tonight, the winner is Daniel J wins, and actually Adam wins too. So good job, you guys. A is the correct answer.
I'm calling bullshit
I
on this.
I had no way of fooling King James on this one. Like I had like maybe one. I might have got him on one, maybe one. You know, but
Was I right about the other two, about the Vatican and San Marino?
yeah, and
Okay,
it
I
was
thought
funny.
so.
And it was funny because AI was like, you know what? Baghdad's pretty big time too. You know what I mean? But it was really funny because they were sitting there like, it could have been like if you go back to like old time, like ancient times, and say it's ancient Babylon, you know, then that would be the correct answer. If Baghdad was ancient Babylon, that would be the correct answer, you know. But it's just fun to go back in history, look at shit, and just bring in Adam. He's actually trying to help with my pronunciation and stuff. And it means a lot, Adam. I appreciate you getting my confidence built up. Get me fired up, and like I say, we love the collaboration. Podcasting. It's pretty fun because, like I say, if you go over there to Vibing with Team SOS, you'll realize who made up Vibing with Team SOS, and who made up the, intro to stuff. And it's really cool. I really appreciate you, Adam. Like, dude, you're the real dog, and it means a lot, man. I'm not trying to blow you up, not trying to get your head all big or anything,
Yeah, I only tried the best I can to make everyone's days a little better.
What
so.
I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get you a girlfriend. Like, I'm trying to be like, know what? This dude is like fire, and all these chicks are just gonna be flocking to you now, Adam. Because I gave you that endorsement. I'll be like, hey, this ladies, he's single, he's got a green screen. You know what I mean? He's good to go.
That's
you
funny.
know what I mean? But
You want a guy with a green screen out of all things. Like, if he doesn't have a green screen, I don't know what to tell you.
dude, I'm telling you, I don't have a green screen. I mean, I'm sitting here in the man cave.
I mean, because I know girls love to do their Instagram photo shoots, and I don't know if they know this, but with a green screen, I mean, I could put you on the moon, I could put you on Mars,
Dude, I'm telling you, like, when they dude, we got a challenge flag coming up here.
No, I just did some checking. It wasn't lignite. The one in Lesotho, they're big on diamond mining. A lot of diamonds in the area.
All right,
I couldn't remember. The other
flags.
spot was lignite.
Challenge flags are off. We are all good. We are clear. Our questions are good this week. Dude, Adam, thanks so much for showing up and hanging out with us.
Enjoyed it, brother.
Mm-hmm.
Have no balls to go out on your own. Just keep it at a three-way tie.
And like I say, thanks for joining. At least you know that all you have to do is tie, and you can beat King James every night.
We got this.
That happens too much. It just didn't. Oh, you're supposed to have another question. Where's your other question at? See, that's Bill falling down on the job. I can't count on him for nothing. I'll tell you.
There was no tiebreaker.
there is a tiebreaker.
Oh man!
No. When he calls me from now on, I'm gonna be busting his balls about it.
Dude, I actually did make a tiebreaker question, and you didn't even respond to it.
Always respond to the tiebreakers. See, Adam, you get a tiebreaker. He'll ask you how many years did it take to build Rome, and then you get like DJ. He says 10 million years.
800 years. 800 years.
No, yeah, he said 800. No, Adam, that was right. Yeah, it was 8 years, and DJ said 800 years.
Damn.
That's funny.
So there should be no tiebreaker quiz question when Adam shows up because Adam already won. So he didn't win, but you know what I mean. Like,
me and Daniel could do rock paper scissors. That could be the tiebreaker.
Oh, dude, I like it. Daniel goes scissors.
I go rock. Yay.
All right, rock beats scissors.
I always go dynamite. I'm like Jimmy Walker.
That's so funny.
I can't argue with that.
They had a lot of water diversion problems at the aqueducts. So to figure out how to make it work correctly. But no, I appreciate it. Like I say, I need to have like pre-programmed tiebreaker question like I did every week, but I didn't even need it last week, so that's why I didn't have it this week. But
no worries. All right, what's next?
Like, you got it right last week. Why are you mad?
Yeah, I did get the tiebreaker. I missed the other 5.
Yeah. Right on. Thanks, Adam.
No worries, boys. Thank you for having me.
Peace out, brother.
Peace.
Right on. Good night, sir.
That's right.
All right, let's kick off the topic. All
Had
right.
my send off for Adam. Pickle
Yep,
shot for
that.
Adam.
Get the pickle shot in. All right. Well, we got hazardous classified locations this week. Now, what I'm going to show here is this is sort of getting into the properties when you're looking at everything. Y'all have heard me discuss this before when I've said talking about determining your distances and things like that. I'm going to get into that on a later video. But what I want to show is looking at another NFPA standard. This is the EECA committee, which is Electrical Equipment and Chemical Atmospheres. And Dad and I have been on this committee for a long time. And this deals with your NFPA standards 496, 497, and 499. Now, when you look at this, it gets in and it talks about your different properties and definitions that you're going to look at and tying it in with other stuff that will happen later. But this is going to deal with the type of equipment when you're installed in class 1, division 1 and 2 locations. And what we tell you here is there's certain terms that you need to get to understanding before you start applying NFPA 497. And one of the first ones that we look at is the flash point. And we'll tell you about this flash point, but it's where you have a liquid and you're going to determine what the minimum temperature is. And then you're also going to look at what type of vapor that liquid gives off in sufficient concentrations. And the reason you need to know that, because that determines if you're going to form an ignitable mixture or not. Okay. So that is basically what you're getting into. And when you look at this ignitable mixture, basically what you're looking at is you're going to have a flammable range, which is going to be your upper and lower flammable limits. Okay. So when you're looking at them upper and lower flammable limits, what that's for is determining and propagating the flame away from the source of ignition when it is ignited. Okay. So what we tell you based on that, we're basically saying you have an evaporation that takes place there. And this is a place that's below the flash point, but it's not in sufficient quantities that will take and form an ignitable mixture. Okay, so that's basically what they're getting into when they look at what a flash point is.
Yeah, so one thing that you're going to look at when we deal with hazardous stuff like this is you have what we call the fire triangle. So you have oxygen, you have fuel, and you have ignition. So that's your fire triangle. You have to have those 3 elements to have ignition. So
Sure.
That's where we look at this. You have a rich condition, which is not going to cause an event. You have a lean condition, which is not going to cause an event. And you have ignition. So you have to look at all 3 of those areas. And awesome, we have Worm Brothers up
Hey,
in
brother.
here. What's up, brother? Dude, yeah. Yeah, you can come back whenever you want, bro. You can watch these whenever you want. But
Sure you can.
That's the one thing you have to look at with this whole thing is the fire triangle.
Sure.
And one thing that I want to mention when it comes to this is with this flashpoint. So I actually had a post that I actually fooled Google on this one. But I said, what's the difference between a flammable liquid and a combustible liquid? And the answer is 1 degree.
That's right. It's
1
1 degree.
degree flash point.
And what's interesting about this, basically, when you're looking at determining flash points and all of that, this is mainly based on flammable and combustible liquids. And that's a good
Right.
point to bring that up. And we actually have in the design tip where we tell you if you have certain uh, uh, different type of gases and vapors that can put off, we'll give you an example like camphor and naphthalene. Basically, what those are, and you'll pick all this information up in table 4.4.2. Okay, and that's where you got all your flash points, your MIC ratios, your MSEGs, all that stuff. But we tell you when you have camphor and naphthalene that these type they slowly evaporate or volatilize at ordinary room temperature. But if you have something like benzene, that freezes at a highly or relatively high temperatures and therefore has flash points even while it's in the solid state. Okay,
Right.
so we give you examples here, and you can go pick this up. This is in the new uh, hazardous location publication that we have, and we give you an example where you have vapors, and depending on where you're going into a dip tank vessel or something like that, you'll see where you got. In other words, you got vapors and stuff. Some rise and some fall. Okay, that's
Right.
what you have to remember when you're looking at these ignitable mixtures between the upper and lower flammable limits. And based on that in the dip tank, that's why you'll see sometimes even up above where you've got the conveyor system going across, even up above that, the tank, depending on the chemical and the how the vapors rise. If it rises up, even up above there where all the conveyor system goes around, that could still be considered a class one div one location. Okay.
Yeah, and you have to keep in mind too, some of these locations too, like if you were to like dig a trench underneath that tank, underneath that dip tank, that would be a class 1 div 1 location as well. So you have to keep in mind that it's not just like if you go look in the code and say this is the location and da 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 da, it doesn't tell you if you dig a trench. So now if you dig a trench and you have to run wiring in that trench and leave that open, exposed, that's going to be a class 1 div 1 as well because those vapors can also go down, not just always go up.
That's right. It depends on the type. Some will rise, some will fall. And one of the things that you want to look at when you're getting into ignition temperatures, what the when you're looking at this, these are based on approximations. Okay, so
True.
when you're looking at an ignition temperature of a substance, and we tell you this, whether it's solid, liquid, or gases, it's the minimum temperature required to initiate or cause self-sustained combustion independently of the heating or heated element. Okay, so they'll tell you here that these ignition temperatures they're under a set of conditions and they may be changed substantially by a change of conditions. And then leave there, and then it says for this reason it's based on approximations. Now this is the most important part when you get in this. It says some of the variables known to affect ignition temperatures are the percentage composition of the vapor or the gas to air mixture. Okay. Also, the shape and size of the space. You've heard me talk about that before. It also can be the rate and duration of heating, the kind and temperature of the ignition source, the catalytic or other effective materials that may be present, and then what is the concentration of oxygen that's there. So as you can see, there's a lot of things that have to be taken into consideration when you're looking at the ignition temperature. All right.
Yeah,
And
and you're always going to be looking at that fire triangle, regardless if it's hazardous location, anything. Like when you go look at like the fire department, they're always looking at that fire triangle. like the combustible material, the amount of air, the amount of oxygen, what's your ignition source, you know?
Sure. And this
And you want to avoid
illustration,
that.
this is a perfect illustration to show this. You'll see we show you have a leaking valve there. Okay. And we're showing there on the bottom right hand side. And then you're going to see we're telling you for the particular vapor that's leaking here that it's lighter than air. So it's less than 1.0 like you were talking about. And that means
Right.
it's going to rise. This would rise up into the area where we may have a luminaire that's there creating heat. Well, you're naturally going to have a T rating that's based, or the luminaire here will have a T rating on it, and you'll make sure that T rating's meeting what that ignition temperature would be. Now, if
True.
it's heavier than 1, then it drops. Now, this is interesting because this will get into another one, and I'm not going to get into all that tonight. This will be another one I'll do. But I could have this pipe right here, and if I have to also look at what type of pressure is in that pipe. Because if that pipe has a lot of pressure, it's one thing that you got, a leak here, just a leaky valve, and it's rising up. But if you got a true leak and it's spraying, depending on the pressure, you could have, 50 foot of that room due to pressure. If I got a leak, that would need to be classified. So if that's the case, they're more than likely going to keep electrical out of that room, and they're just going to have stuff in there like the lamps and stuff in there for lighting, and they'll all be based on that T rating to what the ignitable mixture is.
Yeah,
Okay?
and just so everyone knows, that actual picture that you just did, go back to that illustration,
Mm-hmm.
that actually could be a cable too. Like,
Sure
I
it
didn't
could.
realize that. If it's like a cable, that cable could produce that leak too. It's not just raceways.
Yeah,
Not just
and
unsealed raceways. So a lot of people don't realize that it could be a cable that does that same leakage.
yeah, and I'll tell everybody, go look at other publications. You're not going to see this kind of stuff. We even show you here, right here on the left hand side, we're showing you purge and pressurized equipment right here. Okay, and then we're coming in, and then we're showing you where you come up here, and you've got it set up, and you've got a explosion proof top switch right here too for that lighting. So in other words, we're saying this all could be within the same area, and therefore we need to take and have all the equipment protected here because we want to make sure we don't ignite that vapor.
True, 100%. I just wanted people to be aware that a cable could do that same leakage, which I thought was impossible when I went out to gas and oil. And I was
Yeah,
like, what? I
and,
was like,
and
the
basically
cable can
when
have
you're
that same leakage as a conduit? Like, what?
well, what I like to say when you're getting into it and you're looking at it in popular terms, basically, uh, a mixture that is below the lower flammable limit, what do we consider that? It's too lean to burn, okay,
True.
or explode. A mixture above the upper flammable limit, what is it? It's too rich.
Yep.
Okay. And we tell you that in the design tip right here, when you get in and you start looking at the explosive limits that are here for these flammable mixtures. So we tell you these are flammable mixtures where you have a mixture with air or oxygen. Okay. And basically, we tell you here, there is a minimum concentration of vapor in the air oxygen below which propagation of flame does not occur on contact with a source of ignition. Then we tell you there is also a maximum proportion of vapor or gas in there above in which propagation of flame does not occur. So you're having to look at everything and determine all these different values and what their intent is when you're going in making these assumptions. So if I look here, here's a good example. And we tell you in the black area here, that's where it's most explosive. Okay.
True.
And we give you like acetylene, that's group A. That's the most explosive. Okay. And we're telling you here your different type of groups, and we're showing you what are the flammable explosive limits based on these, and the percentages determined based on this up to 100% based on table what? 4.4.2. Okay, like I
Right.
was just discussing. Now, once you got all that, you understand it, then you've got a vapor density you have to deal with. So when you're looking at these, we got to determine based on the vapor density, just like we showed in the illustration, whether it's settling or it's rising, and this is based on the mixture that's there. Okay, so we tell you a figure of less than 1.0 indicates what? The vapor is lighter than air and will tend to rise. If it's heavier than 1.0, it's going to settle and move along the floor area grade, isn't it? Okay,
Right.
and that's why we go through this, and you'll see here, we're showing a vessel here, and we're showing where it's coming in. You got a lot of pressure here, and based on the vapor and everything, it's lighter than air. It's going to rise. But then we show it where it's coming out, and then look, it's taken and it's settling down below. Okay, and we give
Yeah.
you the sections there to go back and look at this to tie this in. So this is just another good example, understanding your vapor density and everything in order to protect people. Now once you get
Yeah,
that.
and one thing I want to mention on that, and not to interrupt you, sir, but where we have a lot of times where we see this is they'll use like natural gas to like push the crude oil down,
Mm-hmm.
and what'll happen is you have this natural gas that'll just bleed off, so they're pumping out raw materials out of the earth, and what they're doing is like in the earth, like, so you guys all saw the um, Beverly Hillbillies where there's just oil spurting out of the ground. And the reason that the oil is spurting out of the ground is because it's being pushed by natural gas. So what they do is they pump the natural gas out of the ground, and they pump the crude into tanks, and then they use the natural gas to like pressurize. So it's pressurized in the earth naturally.
Mm-hmm.
That's where they got the idea to do it.
Sure.
So the crude oil is pressurized by natural gas. That's why it doesn't come out of the ground.
Mm-hmm.
So the minute they hit that, they strike that thing. Like you've seen it in Texas all the
Oh
time
yeah, you
over
get a
there.
gusher.
Yeah. So when you get a gusher, what's gushing it? It's natural gas that's pushing that crude out of the ground.
Sure it
So
is.
they're both combined. So what they found out to do was they found out to pump that natural gas out, and then they relieve the pressure, and then they're able to pump that crude. Then what they're able to do is they're able to store the crude, and then they pressurize it with natural gas.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens when they pressurize it with natural gas? You get this bleed off. So all that bleed off is a class 1 div 1 location when you're running electrical in there.
Sure.
Because you have all this natural gas bleed off. But I just wanted to give an example of when you were showing that diagram of when you would see that, because that's what they do. They use that natural gas to pressurize. So it's pressurized in the ground, they pump it out, then they repressurize it with natural gas again.
That's right. They sure do. As a matter of fact, we got examples of that in the publication after you get
Right.
through understanding the terms that have to apply to that in order to make those assumptions like it's telling you. So,
Dude, I'm telling you, first time I ever worked in that environment, man, my hair was standing on end. Like, I did not like it, man. I just knew it was like, I caused one spark, I'm dead.
I remember when I started uh, on the EECA committee, and Dad, he's just a wizard at the hazardous. And I remember I hardly ever spoke up. I just sat there and took notes listening to him. And I was learning so much about mainly about chemicals, you know, that
Right.
were in the table. That's what I mainly spent all my time learning. And this was a good example because it's one thing that you have the chemicals, you get in and you start looking at all your different properties and all that, and your ignition points and flash points, all of that. But when you get to that, then you have to determine, and you got three basic conditions that are set in place here to determine if there's going to be a combustion. And if you got a combustion, that's when you get an explosion. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
like 100%. And like, I could go in there with like a lighter with like a burnout like a lighter that had no gas in it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I could go in there and I could strike that thing as many times as I want, no problem. The minute I go in there with a lighter and it has an open flame, you're dead.
That's
You
right.
know, because all the fire triangle things align. You
Sure.
know, like I mean, you could sit there and take a cigarette and you could flick it into a thing of gas, never gonna blow up.
Well, look
But
at it this way.
the
It,
minute you take that drag and you get that um, flashpoint at like 700 or something, boom.
and that's
You
interesting because
know.
if you look at the first 3 points, they're going to tell you got to have a flammable liquid, vapor, or combustible shall be present in
Mm-hmm.
sufficient quantity. Then it gets into what? Where it's mixed, determine what the proportions are put in place to create the explosive mixture. And that's when it's mixed with what? Air or oxygen. And then you have to
Yeah,
have a source of energy that ignites that explosive mixture. So
100%.
basically, exactly what you're saying. This is what we're telling you here. And then you get into the source of ignitions. I'm not going to go through all of this, but they'll tell you the one primary source of energy is what? Electricity that's down in that area. You and
Yeah.
they tell you don't take open flames stuff down. It's usually sources of electricity. And that's why they take and you get in and you start looking at the type of wiring methods that are required in that area because they don't want to have any type of source of ignition that can create that combustion. That's basically what
Yeah.
they're telling you. And these are all
100%.
good examples. If you look like you look here, I did a motor here. It's completely contained in all that, and you'll see that even at the panel board that's there and the motor, I go to my switches, my cord and plug connected equipment I can do there, my lighting fixture, and all of that. Every bit of that is set up in order to do what? Contain the arc or spark. That's what it's for.
Dude,
And,
Weed Man agrees with you. Oh man, dude, that's so cool. Weed
and
Man's agreeing with you all the time, man. That's
and if
cool.
you look, you'll see everything is self-sealed right
Yeah.
here at the motor and all this. And then these are self-sealed, so I did need a seal here. But if I come up here and I look at where I'm going to my switches and my cord and plug connected receptacles here, and I'm going to my light fixture thing, you'll see that I have a seal that's put in, and that has to be within 18 inches. Okay, but we're not
100%.
showing you the distances here. We're just giving you examples of the equipment you're going to see out in the field. And this is how you go about taking and not propagating there to where you can have exposure from that equipment where you could create an arc or spark that would ignite and create a combustible property.
So show proof, Weed Man, that what are you not agreeing with?
I don't know what he's agreeing with. They do this all the time in all the uh, hazardous location areas.
Yeah. I don't know. He's somehow not agreeing with you, but
Well,
whatever.
well, more than likely, probably the reason he isn't because he's probably trying to use a definition that's in the NEC, and he doesn't go over and look at Article 500, 501, 2, 3, 4. You go pick those up, and there's a lot of references back to NFPA 497, 497. And if you're getting into purge and pressurized equipment, you go to 496. We even take in there and we even pull out and show you where you're dealing with class 1, 2, and 3. We basically tie
We
you
just
into,
freaking posted it. What are you freaking drunk sleeping or something?
but we
Like we
also
just
tie it in to the API 500, which is the American Petroleum Institute. And
yeah.
the reason they call it 500 because you look at the National Electrical Code, it starts off in Article 500. And then if you look at the API 505, it's called 505 because it deals with your zone equipment. And if you look in the NEC, where does that start? 505. Okay. And we even tie those standards in with the National Electrical Code plus the NFPA standards. Then we have another chapter, chapter 3, that deals with the OSHA requirements and what they look for when they're going out. And I tell everybody, you won't find a more complete hazardous location publication out there. There's not one. And the reason we know
Sounds
what
like Jeremy's like agreeing with you, man.
uh,
Uh-huh.
the reason we tell everybody to go look at that is because we've dealt with the oil companies all these years. I mean, I've done classes for Exxon, Mobil, Texaco. I've been to British Petroleum, DuPont. I've been to all these places. And the reason they brought us in because they know we know exactly what they're looking for and how to go help determine the type of equipment they need. And another thing that's very interesting about that is a lot of the equipment they use, you can't even purchase. So a lot of times they'll have like a third party come out and they'll do a field evaluation and they'll have somebody from like UL or somebody come out, but they'll do a field evaluation. But the guys that are out there, they're actually teaching the UL people what they do and all that in order to protect and not have these explosive and combustible properties to where they can ignite it. And they show them how they build the equipment. And a lot of the standards and stuff that were written over time was based on what the oil industry was doing. I know all that for a fact because we were involved in it, Dad and I. So that just gives you a starter primer before I get into showing you how to actually do it and go in and calculate these different properties and help you determine all this stuff. Okay?
Nice.
So that
All
was
right.
my topic of the week.
No, good job. Like, dude, there's a lot of people that message me and say, man, you guys should do more classified locations. And, like, dude, that's really good because people don't understand that. Like, dude, there was times where we were in environments where it's always covered under normal operating conditions. So that's the thing that people don't understand, you know? It's always under normal operating conditions, you know?
Well,
And
I've dealt with this a lot. I don't agree with anything you did. Well, that's okay, because uh, I'm sure I'm really worried about what some apprentice instructor is going to state to me. I think I would more be concerned with these companies that actually do this for a living and what their opinion is. And apparently they think very highly of the confidence in us to come out and explain and help them design their equipment and everything.
keep
So,
changing the paper towels and the toilet paper at the union hall there, buddy.
yeah. All right, let's get the
So we
tool of the week, brother.
doing the tool.
All right, here we go.
It's time for Tool Review of the Week. Sponsored by Electricians Only Tool Review and Nipex Tradesman.
All right. So this week we have a really awesome new product out with this rechargeable line laser. This one I really like. I'm a real fan of lasers. I think they make our job like way easier. It's really awesome. Like if you're on a job by yourself, you could just throw up a spot laser and put whatever you're trying to do, adjust the light, whatever, and it makes it like way easier. But this one is cool because it's rechargeable, and like I say, I think it's like under $200. I want to say it's like under 150, but it's pretty. It's getting to be like way easier. I'll never forget when somebody showed up to my job site and they had one of these. It's not this exact product, but they showed up with a line laser, and they were just able to line everything up, conduits, everything. So you didn't have to second guess anything. You could put a little bit more bend in it. You could take a little bit out, whatever, put a little bit in, and just make it perfect on everything. So honestly, this is a one thing I would have especially if you're like Weed Man and you need proof. Make your employer pay for it. I mean, you might as well. If you need proof, just have your employer pay for it. So that's where I'd go with it. But like I say, a really good product. This is actually, I think, just released like a few days ago or something. So
All right.
it's a really new product, but it's got line, it's got dot, it's got everything you need, and I like it. For under $200, I'm going with it. DeWalt
All right.
line laser.
Cool.
That's me.
All right. Let's see.
Yeah.
I guess you got a question of the week for me. So
Well, we'll
man
see
versus
how this,
machine.
we'll see how this goes.
For years, man tried to create artificial intelligence. On this segment, we find out, is AI smarter than King James?
All right.
So actually, on this one, I'm not gonna tell you if I got AI or not on this one, but when you see it, you'll see I kind of have like a little intricate slide on this one. So
Okay. Let's see what you got. Electric light, power class 1 around. Main thing. Oh, you tried to do a trick there. You got power limited fire alarm circuits. Normally that would be 2 inches E from the other ones, class 1 non-power. But when you're dealing with fire alarm circuits, I think it's 760. What is that? 0.48 or 53, somewhere in there. But I'm going off memory here. But if I'm not mistaken, I think that is a 1/4 inch when it's fire alarm circuits, if I'm not mistaken. So,
all right.
yeah, I'll
So
go with A.
AI answered E 2 inches. Do you agree or disagree?
I disagree. If it wasn't from fire alarm circuits, limited fire alarm circuits, I'd agree with it. But if I'm not mistaken, I think 760.48 or 53, something like that. I remember that going in. I think it's 1/4 inch. So yeah, I'll go with A. I don't think it's 2 inches.
So, King James, you are correct. It is in
Yes.
760, and yes, it is 100% where you're terminating inside the equipment,
Hmm.
and that's the most amount of space that, like, there's really no way you're going to get more than a 1/4 inch in a lot of cases. Like, we actually ran to this on one of the job sites, and the guy's like, "Oh, you need to have 2 inch spacing on everything." I'm like, "It's not even a 2 inch cabinet. How are you gonna do that?"
I was going off
And
memory there, though. I thought it was 1/4, but I know the other was 2 inch.
so you are 2-0. You beat the machine 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
Like I say, I understand where AI is coming from because I hear the 2 inches a lot. That's like your minimum separation, like
Hmm.
regardless, And I agree with it. Like when it comes to like, energy management, all that, 2 inch separation, boom, 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 boom.
Was
Just
it
think about that.
760, 48, 53, something like that? I don't remember the exact section, but I know it's right in that range. I'd
It
have to go
is
look it up.
760. It might be 760/48. You might be right on that, but
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact reference, but it is 760. And
Okay.
when you look at it in 760, it gives you that specific thing. And guess what? No haters came out and said it was a stupid question or anything. Like nobody came out and said anything bad because It was a good question. So, I fooled AI, number one, and number two, I didn't fool King James. So, the machine has to try again next week, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I don't know. Let's move on to the Wall of
Wall
Shame.
Shame. Last thing for the night.
Shame. 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 Shame.
Oh, you'd love this one, man. This one's good.
Let's see. Oh, damn. They just rammed it through there.
Yeah, I mean,
What'd they do? Ram it through there, then put it on and didn't screw it in? Is that what they did? Oh, no, it doesn't even look like it. It's one of those that clips in, isn't it?
yeah, it's a snap in. It's a
Yeah.
AST 38, but
Yeah, I'm increasing it
like
right now so I can see it. When I first looked at it, I was like, no, that's a snap in right there. That ain't even one they screw in. Boy, that is some that's some unworkmanlike manner there.
yeah, I mean, it definitely deserves some wall of shame. But you could see, like, even if you use like a thread in style, that's still not gonna prevent moisture from entering the box. And even Weedman agrees. Like, that's cool. I'm glad you agree, Weedman.
Hey, shout out to that Rumble crew over there. They're still 11 strong, man. Love it.
Yeah, I've been noticing that. It's cool. Yeah, and thanks so much to joining us on Rumble. Appreciate it. And like I say, I keep tossing in all the little emojis, all the little cool emojis. So pop up your emojis on there, and I'll give you a vote on who's the best. I like that Trump doing.
Mhm.
Like, that's my favorite is the Trump doing the yep, 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 yep.
I'm
I
actually
like it.
surprised I mean, that Rumble channel's been growing. That's been really shocking
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
All right,
And like I
let's
said,
wrap it up. I got to go eat. I'm hungry.
hey, you know what? I just want to thank everyone for joining us. I'm so glad that Jeremy got it. Appreciate it. Weedman, thanks for joining us. It's awesome that you got it. Dude, he got everything tonight. So that's cool, man. You got it, Weedman. Appreciate it. Thanks so much. Daniel J, thanks so much. David Englehart. Like I say, I feel bad for David Englehart. Like, they've been attacking him. Like, he's trying to go in there, Inspector World, and, bring up some stuff. And they're just attacking him, saying he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. And, I got you,
Well,
David.
It's like I said, if you disagree with them boys over there, they attack you, call you names, everything else. They should have a motto underneath that says, "Do as we say, not as we do."
True.
So
It's really messed up, but I really appreciate everyone for joining. Thanks so much. And as always, remember, make every day an easy day. We're out.
amen. Everybody have a good week and weekend. We'll see you next Thursday. Peace out, everybody.